presentation about the projects entitled Policy of Science, Technology and Innovation oriented to the solution of the national problems. Probably the key word is oriented to the solution. This is important for us. And the objectives of the project are in general to propose strategies of public policy to contribute from the science, technology, and innovation to the solution of national problems. It's necessary to remark this concept of to contribute. Our project is think to make a contribution in the form in which the science, technology, and innovation intervene in the solution of national problems, but not necessary to really make an effective solution, because a national problem is a complex object that is necessary to attack from different fronts. The specific objectives are analyzed 12 cases of probable policies in order to identify and characterize generalities and specificities on the national, regional scale, and identify state policy criteria to design the strategies to solve the national problem, to propose specific recommendations, and finally design a set of indicators to follow the cycle of this policy in relation to the set of national problems studies. And the advance in these different objectives are the following in the three fronts. In the first, we make a review of PCTI approach that incorporate the issue of the orientation to solve national problems. These are very that have a varied group of contribution in this aspect, but we are review specifically the transformative, by mission, and the participatory according to bottom-up initiatives that the approaches in this case. The other advance is the reconfiguration of the conception of the national innovation systems toward the formulation of PCTI, and in particular to approach the public issues of a different nature, and to comprehend the convertibility of this public issue in public policy problems of diverse territorial scopes, as local, regional, etc. And the third advances in the classifications of governance process, the governance process, that is required to analyze the design, implementation, and evaluation from the point of view of the generation of coalitions of different communities, actors, in matters that include different sectoral nature and distinct territorial scopes. Results and outcome that we expect. Three principal, the encourage of the social appropriation of the results of the network, by the different communities through the communication strategy based on generation of multimedia material for digital media. Other result was generate open dialogue and discussion mechanism among the Ibero-American scientific community about the analytical frameworks that we designed. And the third propose a methodology and its instrument for design, generate from the STEEP perspective the different STEEP public policies. This is the scheme of the project, and other colleagues speak about the specific parts of the work that is in this moment developing. Thank you.
I don't know if I have to wait, Jeffrey, to give me the word, the screen, but I can continue with my part. This is like a choreography we have. We are already very used to this change of subject. So we'll share my screen. Let me see if I'm doing okay. Okay. Now you can see my presentation, right?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. Okay. Well, as Martin told you, this is a network we have been working for the last year, more or less, pandemic in the middle. And the objective of our network, of our project, is to develop a conceptual framework for the analysis of STI policy at the service or to contribute with the solution of national problems. We base our project in 3 axes, in 3 pillars, and coordinated the second one, the needs approach. And this is what I'm going to present you today, some ideas, the ideas we have been exchanging in this regard. This is our conceptual framework. On the one side, we have the needs approach, the traditional needs approach with all the evolution of the approach, the idea of actors, institutions, organizations, and the relationship among them that lead to the emergence of innovations. On the other side, we have the national problem, which is also a system. This is the system based on actors, institutions, organizations, and relationships that account for this national problem. And we are working on a definition of what a national problem is. And the objective of our network is in the intersection between these two circles, these two systems. Of course, we are aware that the national problem interacts with other systems, other national systems, the educational system, economy, health, and so on. And the issue here is how to interact. It's about the interaction between the needs and the national problem, and how to mobilize resources and how to propose an approach, a needs approach, that can be articulated with other national policies in order to contribute to this solution. Once again, the objective of our network, of our project, is in the intersection, is in this idea of national policies or national science, technology, and innovation policy to contribute with the solution, not to solve, because we know that it cannot solve by itself, but to contribute with the solution of national problems. So with this framework, at least three questions emerge. First, the first one is, which one are the relevant actors, institutions, and relationships to account for this process of the needs at the service of? Then the specific roles of science, technology, and innovation activity, not all science, technology, and innovation activity, but the ones that should be involved in the solution, the contribution to solve the problem. And the last one, and the most difficult one, is how to mobilize and transform the system in order to put resources at the service of national problems. Based on these three ideas, we had a workshop last year with all the network. I can see Andrew, there was Isabel, Daniel, there are many of these persons here and in this session. And we discuss, we share ideas about this framework, and 5 elements emerge in this interaction. First, the need to focus the analysis in terms of the relevant system at the relevant scale. It's regional, it's national, is it local, is it sectorial? Which one are the actors and institutions and organizations that should be taken into account to deal with the national problem? Of course, the second one is about the capabilities. We are working under a needs approach, so capabilities and learning processes are the center of the ideas. So which one are the basic conditions to think of new learning processes to solve this problem? The third idea or the third element is the diagnostic, the need to account for the characterization of the actual starting point and the aspirational situation, which one is the path we want to transit in order to contribute to the solution of the problem. Between the actual situation and the desired one, there are the obstacles. Which one are the obstacles between what we have today and the desired future? And here we have an important point between the diagnostic and obstacles is the desired future. We need to discuss about how is the solution, which one is the best solution, and how we can achieve this solution. And finally, action. This network is about policy criteria. This network is about thinking of policy recommendations to transform reality. So we need to think in terms of the identification of concrete policy criteria to solve the national problem. Again, with different levels in terms of the problems identified by each group within the network. But the idea is to work towards a general framework that can be applied to different realities. So the road ahead and what are we working right now, and what we expect to work in the near future. First, on the conceptual elaboration of this framework. The second line of working is to develop a methodology to implement it, including the 5 elements I have mentioned before. And finally, to, of course, we academics, apply, adjust, and propose a conceptual and methodological tool for future studies. these are the main ideas we wanted to share about the NIS approach in terms of national problems and to discuss with you in this GLOBELICS conference. Thank you.
Okay. Yeah.
Jeffrey, we cannot hear you.
Exactly. This is the main reason why we should all be in Costa Rica right now.
Yes.
Right?
I heard Andrew told at last, and no, I don't remember in which presentation. This is the new condition of human beings. Is, are you there? Can we hear you? You are mute.
Totally. And that
It will be worse when we get back to normality, and then we said, "Can you please unmute yourself? Can you please mute yourself?"
But I guess we can continue with Natalia. I don't know, Jeffrey, if you want me, I can chair this session too. Here, I have nothing else to do but to sit here. I cannot drink coffee with you.
Okay, so maybe I can go and then Natalia, you can go after me. Sure. Yes, so you can close with the governance part.
Yes, if you want, I can start also.
Okay, as you wish. The floor is yours, Natalia, then.
Yeah, thank you. Well, I don't have a presentation, but I have some ideas to share with you. Well, first of all, good afternoon. Following on from Martin and Diana, the more general question guiding my presentation is what governance challenges lie ahead in the Latin America region if the aim is to favor the design and implementation of STI policies that collaborate to put STI at the service of solving problems. By governance, we refer to the capacity of the system to be self-directed. In this case, to collaborate from STI in the resolution of problems. In turn, and depending on the specific characteristics of the problem to be solved, the systems that are configured to address them will necessarily have to be multidimensional, as they are cross-cutting in nature by territorially. The problems and their eventual solutions take on unique configurations according to the territories in which they are expressed. Sectoral, the complexity of the problem may involve more than one sector, and therefore the solutions have to involve all the parties directly and indirectly affected by the problem. Second, multi-scalar, as their scope can be local, regional, national, etc. 3, complex, as they are made up of heterogeneous actors, groups, organizations, collectives, associations, communities, etc., with different capabilities, capacities, power, functions, and roles. They must also be dynamic because, like problems, they change over time. In this sense, for STI and STI policies to contribute to the solution of major problem, a democratized and decentralized vision is needed, which promotes the capacity for agency and the participation of actor groups, populations, and communities in the territory, so that they can identify and respond with solutions to the problem and issues that they identify as priorities. Hence, these systems must be governed in a way that is appropriate to their characteristics. And it is at this point that we find a set of challenges. The first is that, according to the experience, such systems often operate without the participation of all the actors involved. Depending on the context, the most participatory groups may be from the academic sectors, in other cases, the innovative business sector, etc. But complex problems require solutions that demand the participation of all parties in the identification, exploration, and implementation of solutions, and in the overall formulation of the policy that collaborate to that end. Another challenge that is linked to democratizing policy formulation, stimulating decentralization and participation, and which is at the heart of the governance of these systems, has to do with the generation of space for dialogue between actors with mechanisms that facilitate their interaction to identify problems, possible solutions, and the capacities and capabilities to mobilize the necessary resource in order to provide solutions that are appropriate to the needs and capabilities and capacities available in the specific territory. In this direction, the development of channels and mechanisms that facilitate coordination, cooperation, and systemic collaboration between all parts involved is our center. 3. The above faces us with a great challenge of developing a common language, taking into account the linguistic diversity existing in Latin America and effective communication channels between the parties involved. And in order to communicate to society, clear messages are required that contribute to give behaviors that collaborate with the implementation of solutions. The language issue and the development of common language make the governance of the system and also the appropriation of solutions to be explored and implemented. To summarize, for STI to be able to collaborate in solving problems, the policy approach has to consider the development of systems capable of addressing such issues with a territorially decentralized, cross-sectoral, and dynamic perspective. Its governance, to be adequate, must reflect the specificities derived from the problems, the territories, and include all actors directly and indirectly involved in the resolution of problems and the implementation of solutions. In this sense, policy formulation must help to overcome the challenges posed, since without the participation of all the actors involved and their capabilities and capacities, it is difficult to provide solutions appropriate to local conditions. The identification of problems and their solutions depend to a large extent on local conditions. In this context, the actors of the territory and their capabilities are central to the identification, exploration, and implementation of solutions. The same applies to the space that are created for the most horizontal meeting possible between the parties, their dialogue, for the generation and implementation of bottom-up solutions, which in turn requires cooperation, consultation, and joint effort. Thank you. Sorry for my bad English.
You're doing well.
Thank you.
She's a big one. Jeffrey, so we still can't hear you, Jeffrey. So I guess I'm gonna go, right? Say yes with your head. Can you hear us there?
We can hear you.
Okay, perfect. So I'm gonna go now. Second, okay. Okay. So, well, thanks a lot for this opportunity for us. This project that is actually being developed as we speak. It's a great opportunity to be here and to share with you the main ideas that has been driving the whole project and the challenges also that we are facing for implementing STI policies that could actually be oriented to solve national problems. Again, the challenge is, as you may imagine, not minor in any sense, since the complexity of what we have seen already from the three previous presentations shows really clearly, right? In this case, we're going to talk about the STI policies indeed and certain reflections that we have had already on this axis. The first one, and is a word that has come out many different times in the last presentations, it's complexity. Because when we want to focus on national problems, then complexity comes as one of the main characteristics of the problems that we are dealing with. And in that sense, we wonder as a team in the whole network, what does this complexity mean? And it means a lot of things that actually we need to start to see how to tackle and how to organize in a framework that could actually embrace this complexity instead of looking for more reductionistic approaches in which the complexity itself, it's not very well attended or included in the analytical framework. In fact, we do believe that one of the problems that we are facing right now with some policies that actually wants or try to orient STI systems towards the solution of national problems is that sometimes the complexity of the problem itself, it's not well considered or included in the analysis. And that could come even with some perverse effects or side effects at least that could be actually counterproductive in terms of social welfare. With complexity would mean nonlinear processes that require a conjunction of different actors. And this nonlinearity, it's a challenge since it, as Diana said before, it implies the mobilization of resources in towards a direction that could actually be involved in a network of causal relationships, of interactions, and that are socially based and that depend on an evolutionary path as we are looking or we are approaching the problem from this capability view, and that at the end of the day, represent the opportunity as well for public intervention. So the non-linearity of the process is one of the main issues that we need to organize and see how to tackle in terms of the complexity of the problem itself. The best answer so far that we have found for managing this complexity is coordination. Coordination between different agendas, because we know that we are dealing with actors that come from heterogeneous communities. Even if we consider 4 communities, as we have done in the past in a previous network, in fact, that was very much concerned with dialogues for science, technology, and innovation policies. Even if we consider those 4 communities, which are the public sector, the academic sector, the productive sector, and the social society, even in only considering those 4, we will find that the heterogeneity of the actors is huge. And of course, the agendas of each of these actors and the interactive agenda that emerge as the process takes place, it's also a problem that needs to be coordinated if the resources want to be allocated in such a way that contribute for the solution of a national problem. And that coordination of agenda comes with a lot of consideration of power, of the social network that is involved, and of course the evolutionary process, as well as the capabilities that are embedded in the actors and also in the process itself, and those particularly for those actors that can participate in the production, mobilization, and use of knowledge, that it's of utmost importance to see how science, technology, and innovation could help solve the problem. So once again, complexity is one of the main axes of our concerns. We know that there are some alternatives, and we have been exploring those alternatives and the possibility of using those alternatives as a baseline to construct an analytical framework. However, we have to be honest, many of these, or all of these alternatives, even if they serve as a source of inspiration, and there are many insights that we could take from them, at least at this stage, it's hard for us to say that one of them could be the right way to achieve national problems, at least in Latin America, because our contexts are quite different, and because the configuration of our national innovation systems are quite heterogeneous as well. We have reviewed at least 3 of them. The first one, STI policies for social inclusion, very much linked to what Susan Cousins and Judith Sud has proposed, in which basically we can have like 2 modes of using science, technology, and innovation for social inclusion: generating solutions for marginalized populations, or the co-production of solutions. In this case, our main problem is that we lack an analytical framework that is much more linked to the science, technology, and innovation policy cycle. So in that sense, we would need to construct this framework and try to organize it in such a way that could be also incorporated in the analytical framework. There are other 2 that are more now in the international arena, like the mission-oriented policies that is proposed mainly by Matsukato, but in which, for instance, Calderón Pena has also been working for some years, and even when he is now working in other topics. But the mission-oriented policy has had or has gained a lot of attention in the region. Particularly, the Inter-American Development Bank has implemented some projects in which this vision has been at least tested in some exercises. I myself participated in one of those projects, and also in an attempt in Medellin to construct a science, technology, innovation program that is based on mission-oriented policies. The problem here is that the required capabilities that are needed to foster these missions and the projects that are linked to these missions are hardly seen in the region. And if that is the case, then the feasibility of implementing this type of orientations, it's hard, it's complicated, and sometimes it could be unfeasible to see how these policies could be implemented or not, because we would need to have a capability building approach, which actually, and now currently at least, we do not have. And we do not even know how actually to build those capabilities that are needed. So the gap that we see for this framework to be implemented is big. And that's why we are reflecting. We also look at the transformative innovation policies as one alternative. And in fact, the consortium is operating here in Latin America, and it's doing a lot of experimentation. It's a more bottom-up, it's more bottom-up based, and it has some insights that are of much interest. However, they're still on the phase of experimentation, and we have a close link with the persons that are working on those and this consortium. In fact, some of the groups are also part of the initiative that we are organizing nowadays. But however, once again, since they are in this experimentation phase, it's still hard to see how to implement this into analytical framework that could let us to propose how STI policies could help to solve national problems. So we need to rethink the STI policy for Latin America if this is our main objective. In that sense, we have identified some directions so far. Again, this is work in progress. One of them comes from the dialogues. Again, this is part of the results of a previous network that was absolutely focused on STI dialogues for policy. And some insights come from that exercise that it's much based in Latin America. First, the structure around different types of problems that these dialogues have to have. These dialogues are an important source of public participation and could also help us with this coordination problem and this necessity to deal with consensus and conflicts in the middle of the science, technology, and innovation policy development. So there are structure about different types of projects, of objects, sorry, and the problems would be the main object. And we are going to talk about the problem because, as you have seen in the from the previous presentations, the definition of the problem itself, it's one of the problems that, or analytical problems that we need to solve. The configuration of an interactive space in which we could consider the region, the agenda, the positions and power in the way that the dialogue itself is being developed, the temporalities, if it is one-time, fixed term, or continuous, and the asymmetric relationships in terms of the complexity, and how to deal with it, again, through different coordination mechanisms led by leadership, mediation, and management of the dialogue itself. This is for us a very important point of departure, since we know that this complexity would not be achieved or would not be incorporated into the analytical framework if we do not deal first with the coordination that is needed to do so. The other big thing that we are reflecting on is the nature of the problem. And here we could identify at least two types of them. One is the social problem, the societal problem. The social problem, it's a bit different from the policy problem that we're going to discuss just in a few minutes. Let me describe first the social problem itself. First, it combines multiple dimensions. And for instance, inclusion might be just one of them, but not necessarily the only dimension that it's included in this characterization that we are doing of the problem. They have a great level of specificity, and at the same time, it is interconnected in this way that we could call even weak problems, and considering that one problem, it's connected to many other different problems. The pandemic situation that we're facing right now, it's a great example of what I'm just saying. because it is not only a health problem, it is an economic problem, it is a political problem, it's an environmental problem. So if we try to consider each of these problems in isolation, we might lose the focus and the possibility of having a collective action that could actually help to have more or a greater condition of well-being. They are diverse in nature and include many domains that are outside science, technology, and innovation, as Diana also pointed out. But this is the social problem. It is not necessarily the same thing of the science, technology, and innovation policy problem, because the complexity of the problem itself goes even beyond the sphere of science, technology, and innovation. So how to configure a problem that could be actually linked to the science, technology, and innovation policy. And then we need to select an approach of how we're going to use science, technology, and innovation to analyze this social problem and the actions needed to solve it. The different science, technology, and innovation policy rationales would also participate in this configuration of the problem itself. We're going to talk about the rationales in a few minutes. And then if this is the case and the problem is that complex and it interacts with different domains, where are the boundaries? Where are the boundaries for the science, technology, and innovation policy? This is a big, big question, because if not, then we lose the specificity also that it's required to define the public action, and it becomes quite messy how to act and how to organize and coordinate all the actors needed to collaborate with the solution of the problem. So again, complexity, it's one of the main things. The rationalities that intervene in this configuration of the problem are quite important and need to be considered. Why? Because there are different types of them. For instance, there's a paper from Victor Gomez. I think he's maybe over there. Hi, Victor. And in which he presents different types of policy rationales from the economic view that actually intervene in the case of Dominican Republic. And if we reproduce this exercise in other countries of Latin America, it is very likely that we're going to find these different interactions as well. So this is what's going to happen. I mean, it is not that we are going to have only one homogeneous vision that is going to be incorporated in the STI policy, and from there we're going to solve a complex problem. But we are going to have many different visions that are integrated at different levels and at different intensities within the science, technology, and innovation policies. And furthermore, these rationalities might change at different stages of the STI policy. It might be one type of rationale at the design, another in the implementation, and even another one in the monitoring and evaluation of the policy. If that is the case, then we need to track how these different visions of the STI policy changes in the whole process, and try to make them converge into a single vision that could actually serve for the solution of the problem. Once again, more complexity to be added. And of course, there are many challenges ahead. And from these challenges ahead, we have some reflections as well. The first one is articulation. If this is the case, and the problems are so complex, the social problem is so complex, and the STI policy problem, it's also complex, how to articulate this interaction between the social problem and the STI policy problem. This is one of the main things also that we need to solve and generate analytical tools to do it. Then how to articulate the different policy rationalities, which are going to appear at different stages of the STI policy process, and how to articulate STI policy process with other policies that are also part of the public domain and that are much needed if we actually want the problem to be solved. Because again, because of the specificity of the STI policy, we wouldn't be able to build, to think or to propose at least that the STI policy itself would be the solution for complex problems like health problems or energy problems or inclusion problems. In this case, the balance that we need to find is between that specificity and considering the interaction of problems. For instance, if it is the case that those problems are so complex and specific, should we develop a framework for each of them? Or should we develop a unified framework? Or how to find a flexible framework such as we could incorporate some different types of problems with different types of natures, and at the same time articulate the whole system in such a way that it could serve in a coordinated action. That is another big challenge. And of course, to determine the specificity of the STI policy in terms of determining the boundaries of the policy and how the policy itself could be directed to the solution of the problem in articulation with other policies, but without losing the specificity of the STI policy. So the challenge, again, it's not minor. These are the main reflections that we have had so far. We are working on collecting a lot of empirical evidence all across the region. The network is constituted for more than 100 researchers from Latin America and Spain. We're working we have identified at least 18 different national problems to start testing these possibilities of the analytical framework. Of course, the pandemic hasn't helped in the mobilization of the project itself, but we're working on it and trying to see how all of these answers could come from this collective action. Thank you so much.
I think with this project, we have clear that we have a lot of work to do. It's not enough just to have a section in the last part of the papers with some recommendations and papers who maybe few people in the action world, the society or the policymakers read. So we have been discussing this, and this is part also of this project to know this complexity and how to have some incidents from this academic world. So I really like this because it make a lot of challenges for us. Some are more basic about, for example, who choose the problems to solve. It's just a big question. We can decide what problems to study, what kind of solutions and theoretical framework, even methodological framework to study, but in the real life, in the society, is more complex also to do it. And I think it's part of this project, of the challenges also to study this. And then we have to go deeper in this kind of studies. And I think it's very important. And this is a challenge also, both, and I think all of you already commented, but it's a challenge in terms of theory also, but also methodologically. In some of the studies we see, for example, now in GLOBELICS, we are studying the past. For example, most of the econometric studies using data from the past, but then the idea to solve something for the future is not just writing some recommendation at the end, as I say. So I think this open a big discussion, and I would like to see if somebody wants to comment something, or have a question, whatever, the public or the people online.
Hola, felicitaciones. Sorry, so sorry. Hello, dear colleagues. Congratulations for the very interesting project that are presented now. I also have a reaction. I have the pleasure to read the paper that our friends and colleagues, Veronica Robert and Gabriel Chugel, have presented here. I think that yesterday, but time is quite crazy now. Where they discuss five new approach, five heterodox approach on STI policies. Of course, as usually happen with the works with Gabriela and Vero are very interesting. They present a very rich theoretical framework and discussion. But in particular, they pay attention for a topic that I think that is one point of more of complexity that is one more for the that already pointed out Jose Miguel, is that the complex interaction between policymakers and the agents, and how or to what extent the policy rational assume that social and economic agents are able to construct agency in the Hirschman sense, voice and agency. And they call our attention, they stress the necessity to discuss to what extent our policy rationally is considered the limitation in building agency, in particular in our region. I think that, well, it's funny, and I am glad to assume work for you. Of course, I think that it could be good to consider this. I really would like to know your result, and congratulations again. As I already said, we miss all of you here, but our colleagues from Costa Rica have been an excellent conference. See you.
Okay, Marina.
I think Andrew asked to, no?
Go ahead, you, and then after you, Andrew.
Okay. 2 points. The first one, first of all, congratulations for the very interesting presentations, and also the project, of course. We are here in Brazil. We don't make part of the project, as far as I know, but we are working in a very close direction of your project. And the first question is just when the beginning of the presentation of Gianna, when she presented a figure trying to localize the intersection between innovation system and national problems or national challenges, I don't remember. And you mentioned that the innovation system was not enough to search for the challenge or the problem. And I think if you use the broad concept of innovation system, then I don't think you need any other system or subsystem, because when you talk about the broad innovation system, you include all the other subsystems, not only the STI subsystem. So I just don't know if I understood correctly when you explain it, and if you can clarify this point. Then regarding the presentation of Jose Miguel, I think when you presented the 3 options of theoretical framework for innovation policy, and you mentioned the one of Susan and Giudici, the other from mission oriented, and the other for transformative. And you also mentioned that Caetano has been working on the mission-oriented. But yesterday, if I'm not wrong, he presented the idea, the new concept that he's working on of transformative mission-oriented innovation policy. So it's just to say that the label, it doesn't matter the label, if it is mission-oriented and if it is transformative. I think if we talk about innovation, industrial innovation policy or science technology innovation policy for big challenges or big national problems or challenges, I think we can have an alternative to all those others labels. And I think it would be enough for us in Latin America to treat like this. It is a proposal. Another point is I don't know if you have explored the importance of the interaction between implicit and explicit policies. We know everybody here who is from Latin America or has one time get to know the problems of Latin America, you know that most of the time the implicit policies have more effect, have more impact than the science, technology, and innovation policies in the development of industrial, productive, and innovation capabilities. So I think this is another point that has to be explored. And finally, it is clear that the traditional approach of vertical versus horizontal industrial and innovation policies is not any more useful for us. It's not. We can't think anymore about sectorial science and technology innovation policy. Everybody here knows that. But the problem is that institutions and policymakers are still working with the linear model and thinking about this contraposition between horizontal and vertical. So it raises the problem, the point that another very important problem to attack is the problem of building new institutional capabilities. We've been talking in the previous session, parallel session, with Gabriela when she presented one paper. And this is another point. I don't know if you have been exploring this in your project, and I would like you to hear about this from you. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Marina. Then Andrew, and after Andrew, Carlo.
Hello, it's so great to have everybody here. I wanted to say three things as a member of the project team, but thinking outside of our internal dynamics. The first is to take up something that Jeffrey's been insistent about and that we talked yesterday in one of the sessions about, is really think about what is our theory of change in terms of policy advocacy, and how do we actually want to get to those people that Marina just was talking about that have a logic that's, you know, different from ours, taking advantage of the significant knowledge that we have of people that are in the policy sphere. You know, we have people in Gestión, you know, Diana's in Gestión, many of you, Gabriela's in Gestión. We have Victor, who is a policy maker, to really think about what our theory of change, of how we're going to do this advocacy. The second thing I wanted to say is that there are other communities like the hub of transformative innovation in the region that we should think about a strategy for somehow having a dialogue, and maybe that's on the level of LALICS, but I think this project specifically lends itself to that dialogue, and maybe we can think about how structuring that within the next possibilities for interaction with them. And the third that I wanted to say was the last little note on Marina's questioning of the the open idea of the system of innovation. I think we all have that, but I think we need to somehow we lose the specificity when we take it all the way out to the system of actors and the relationships and the rules of the game that are around the problems. And there's also rather a specificity of that group of actors that's not national, or maybe it's national, but it has some sectorial dimensions. I mean, it doesn't really just fit that could be taken from, in my mind, that could be taken as just part of this wider systems of innovation approach. But that was, I just was motivated to say that. Thank you.
Carlo, very nice to see you. It's night there, a little late, but
yes. Hello, everyone. I started with my beer, just to conclude. And I'd love to be there with you, but you know, and I'm sure there'll be a next time, and we'll all be there together. I have a comment. First of all, very interesting project. I was not aware of it. I'd like to be part of it or be involved somehow, because it sounds very, very interesting. And I would like to know and hear more examples to try to see what you mean in practice. You know, several of your presentations were, you know, flying very high, but then I was trying to translate them into something concrete, and I couldn't easily find examples or ideas around that. So it'd be great to have these cases and develop them. And I'm sure you're doing it. One thing that I would like, my main comment is specifically regarding the case where, you know, I don't know who was presenting these two big circles of the national problems, perhaps Diana, national problems, and then STI policies, and then they have an overlap and interaction. And we all know that national problems can have many different solutions, that many different domains could have an impact on solving national problems. So we all come from STI communities and ways of thinking, and we've been educated at that. But the world of public policies is made of many different domains that think it differently. And many times, those of us who've been closer to policies and policy advice know that it's very hard to convince the actual policymakers that STI can have a major role in solving national problems. So, you know, it seems to me that a lot of your thinking and reasoning has to do with the STI community and what happens and how it is governed and who sets the priorities and the dialogue that is developed within the community and with local territories. But perhaps the greatest challenge is to make STI policy relevant for national development, and how to convince policymakers and how to advise them and so on. The often reminded mission-oriented policies, in my mind, they tend to be very different, because they typically start from the center, from the central government. So there's somebody that managed to convince a policymaker that it's worthwhile developing a mission, and then asking or putting money or organizing and coordinating actions from many different areas, all directly to solve or try to find a solution to a mission, to a big problem, to a big solution. But they typically start from the center of government, whereas it's not so frequent that science and technology policies can play, or actually play, a very central role in the government agenda. And STI policies do not come in the vacuum. Before STI policies, and together with STI policies, there's plenty of social policies, trade policies, industrial policies, local policies, regional policies, and this and that. So, a big question would be how to help STI policies to gain a centerpiece in this discussion for aiming at solving national problems or helping solve national problems. I stop here.
Okay, so I think the presenters could replay a little bit. There are some questions for also in the chat from Edward Spano about how you choosing these problems. Are these problems considered just in the national level or also at the local level? Are you engaging with policymakers in the process? So please consider this question also.
Should I start? Thank you, Marina and Carlos, for your comments. This issue is at the center of the discussion in the Argentinian team. I mean, with Gabriel, with Veronica, with Florencia Barletta. What I'm going to talk about now is my position, what I think in terms of science, technology, and innovation policy. This doesn't represent the ideas of my team, but it's at the center of our discussion. I don't believe science, technology, and innovation is the development theory. It's not an STI or NIS. The NIS approach is not a development theory. It doesn't have an industrial policy in terms of what should we do, or an inflation policy, or commercial policy, or global value change policy. So I think the first step to convince policymakers of the importance of STI policy is to acknowledge that we are not at the center of development. We can contribute to solve some national problems. We can contribute with good ideas, but to solve poverty or hunger or health issue or industrial issues, we need to articulate STI policy with other policies. And in that sense, I think even the broad definition of the NIS, the famous broad definition against the narrow definition, are useful, but again, it's not a development process. It's not a development theory. It's just an STI theory or an STI approach. So we need to articulate with other theories. I'm thinking of Jorge Katz, for instance, and all what he explained about structuralism and structural change. I think innovation is not enough. I mean, I think even in terms of Charles Edkis and the holistic policy, we account with STI policy and R&D, for instance, investments. We only account for 1%, luckily, of the GDP, while public expenditure is like 40% of worldwide GDP. So we need to start articulating with another policies. I think that's the first step to convince policymakers. And that's our starting point in this project, how to articulate part of the STI, because if this is something we also discussed in the Argentinian team, and I remember I discussed this with Rasmus Lema in some GLOBELICS. If we start thinking only in terms of national problems, for instance, in Argentina or in Latin America, we will stop thinking in terms of industry 4.0, because we have the problem of hunger, or the problem of poverty, or mal de Chagas in Argentina. And we need to think in terms of both of these issues. So STI policy and NIS policies should attend both of these issues. We want to, in this project, we want to think in terms of national problems and a very wide range of national problems, but we are aware that all problems are relevant. Those at the frontier, the technological frontier, and those typically at the development part of our societies. And the National Innovation System approach and STI policy could have both of these types of problems, but we should start focusing our policy in terms of which one is the objective we pursue with the specific policy.
Okay. Jose Miguel, or
I will let Jose Miguel to reply to how we select the problems.
No, maybe Martin or Natalia want to participate. I could go afterwards. I have no problem. Martin?
No more.
Cri, we say.
Okay, okay. Well, okay, good. Then I go. Well, the comments have been very, very interesting and food for thought for the whole work that we have ahead, which is, as you can see, not a small one, right? But it's good. I mean, this project is part of other activities, and it's a big community of LALICS working on it, and you know how we are. So we like to face big challenges, and that's why we're up to. So in general, yes. In fact, we need to find more integration. This is a good thing about this presentation, because Carlo, Marina, everyone that it's interested in following and participating with the project, please let us know, and let's see how we could do so, because as you can see, the complexity that we are facing is huge. So we need ideas and how to articulate it. So it will be a pleasure. I'm going to go now with the specific comments that has been received. Right, the complexity between policymaker and agents that Carlos Bianchi was saying, that's crucial in terms of defining the interactions in the real politics. And I would connect this with the comment that Andrew just posted in the chat, in which he claims for more political scientists and multidisciplinary research teams. And I believe that that's one of the main challenges that we have ahead to develop this project, because we need new capabilities. Again, as Diana was saying, it's a matter of articulating STI policies, yes, but it's a matter of articulating capabilities in all senses, also in the construction and the analytical framework as well. Marina, it's true that we can find many labels. There's a normative weight that came with a with a specific label, and in a sense, it's important to recognize it. But I understand your position, and at the end of the day, what we need is public action organized to solve or to orient STI to solve the problem. And in that sense, we share the same objective. However, it is important to see how we developed this conceptual framework, particularly considering the contextual issues that we have, and construct the analytical framework based on these contextual specificities, which is something that we are aiming to. And in fact, the two other comments that you made are so important. Explicit and implicit policies, right? Following Herrera, it's so important for us to be considered. So important for us, because again, the complexity of the problem will deploy all these different configurations of other domains. And if we want to know how the STI policy could contribute with the others, then we need to understand fully the implications of the STI policy. It is under development, and at the end, I'm going to talk about something more concrete and how we are organizing the case studies that are under construction, just to take this into account. And the path dependency of this linear model, the institutions, the capabilities that have been constructed so far are indeed one of the things that we also need to consider. But there is where attention arises, because on one hand, yes, we have to construct these new institutions and capabilities, but on the other hand, now we're working with national problems that need a solution, right? And we want to contribute with that solution. So we have no time. And this time constraint with the evolution that we have had pose a challenge, again, in analytical terms, because if we have to wait for the new institutions and the capabilities to be ready and then to use STI policy for contributing to the solution of the problem, then maybe we're gonna be just waiting forever. The benefits of all of the capabilities that are already constructed. So how to balance that? Part of the challenges as well, right? Not easy. And then the theory of change and very much linked to dialogue, as Andrew proposed. I think that these two axes are also very much together. And in fact, one of the things that we have been also discussing is we are so much focused on coordination, articulation, and that is much needed. But at the same time, we're going to find some conflicts and tensions, and we have to deal with that too. So in that theory of change, the consideration of how to work in conflictive scenarios might be also part of the analysis. And particularly for national problems. I would say that this would apply for other domains of STI policy. Carlo, make STI policy relevant for national problems. It's so I mean, you're just at the center of the discussion, how we can convince that this is important, and the articulation could help in that sense, but also we need to rethink how we define ourselves as and the purpose of STI policy in a developing context, because it's not easy to try to articulate that from just one single end, particularly when the complexity is so big. And I think that I mean, there are many things to say, many things to say, but one of them is that if we depart from an analytical framework in which we do not fully consider the complexity of the national problem, then it's very likely that we're going to miss the opportunity to be useful, right? So that's why this first stage of the project, it's so abstract and it's so critical, even with the work that we ourselves have done in the past, and with the things that we ourselves have done, because we think that we believe we need to be critical and if we want to be useful. And now I'm going to close with Eduardo and the comments that he has made regarding the way that the framework is being developed. And we tried our best to include a lot of diversity in the selection of the problems, based on also the expertise of the different groups that are part of the network. Fortunately, it's 12 countries working together, and this comes with a lot of coordination needed, but also the possibility of including different sources of knowledge and experiences. So that's one way of at least ensuring that we're going to have a good panorama of what's going on there. And to organize them, we use the Sustainable Development Goals objectives to see if we have problems that leads are linked with most of them, and this has been kind of a point of departure, right? We have covered more or less different three types of levels: the local, the regional, and the national level, and we have many different domains in terms of energy, health, productive, gender, and some others that are part of the SDG. Right. I think that we're gonna share with you some of the communication communication pieces that we are creating right now, in which you're gonna find the more specificity about the problems and how they are being characterized. But again, one other issue that comes with this configuration is that it has to be multi-level, because as you clearly point out, these differences between the local, the regional, and the national should also be part of the analytical framework. So it's a massive analytical framework, the one that should be created, and how to articulate that, it's a big problem. But if we disregard this complexity and try to do something with all the instruments that we have implemented so far, it's very likely that we're going to miss a point. So at that conundrum we are.
Okay, Natalia or Martin, do you want to say something?
Only two precisions. I believe that when we use the term national problems, in reality, we are speaking about the public issues or demand, public demand for some situations. This is a sense of the term problems. But when we speak about the specific problem to attack with a collection of instruments or different version of some policy, this is a problem in a sense of a problem that is formulated by a question that is possible to respond to this question. And this is in the, for me, in the center of the discussion, which is the effort to convert a public issue in a problem that is possible to solve. And this is the principal challenges of our project, which is the effort to analyze and to identify. And this is a social problem in the sense that is a specific form to make a process from the public issue to social or political or economic or whatever problem to solve. This is a very difficult, no? And in this transit from the national problem to a specific problem to solve, we need a social discussion, a political discussion, a interaction among different force actors, communities. And this is the form of the dialogue in which the public issue is possible to convert in a specific problem to solve. This is a, in my opinion, the general challenge.
Natalia, you want to say something or?
Yes. In order to in order to complex more the project, another thing that is very important in order to collaborate to STI to solving problem is that the issues of research evaluation, technology evaluation, and this kind problem today in the world, in Latin America also, the dominant research evaluation put a lot of barriers to orient science, technology, innovation to solve social problem. So this is another issue related with the STI policy, research evaluation, and the different trajectories that can follow science, technology, innovation in order to solution the main problems that affect whole countries, no, or people. So maybe is to introduce this topic in order to complete more our project. But maybe I think that my colleagues and express a lot of idea in order to think and develop or thinking or pensamiento en nuestras ideas. So, thank you.
Okay.
Jeffrey, can I comment a bit? I would like to comment on Susan's comment on the chat. Yes. Because I think it's a good example of what I say about that articulated STI policy with other policies, because innovation policy may actually create unemployment. For instance, platform economies, such as platform firms such as Uber or Pedido Ya or any of these new enterprises are leading to the precarization of the labor market, especially in developing countries. So we need changes in regulations in the labor market, and it doesn't mean we have to ban these kind of firms, but we have to articulate a new set of policies, a new set of regulation, new infrastructure in the labor market to include these people in social security, because we are based, our social security system is based under the formal employment, the traditional formal employment, and now we have new forms of employment. So this is what I meant when I said that we need to articulate STI policy with other policies, because we cannot ask innovation policy to create employment, but we need to think in terms of employment when we promote innovation. So that articulation can only happen if we articulate both ministries.
Okay, some more comments in the audience, or you there is connected. If not, we can finish now. We have in some minutes a book launch, and after that the closing session. Oh, Marina is wanting to say something.
Very quickly, it's just referring to one of the points that Carlo has raised about the concrete choice of a national problem. I think we have here in Brazil, we have had during the Lula period, the period where we had the experience of industrial innovation policy, that was the experience of choosing the development of our health system, our universal health system, where the government tried to combine the need for improving social services, health services, and the supply of health products and services, and at the same time trying to develop productive and innovation national productive innovation capabilities. So in this way, they had to combine STI policies with many other policies, industrial, social, and so it was an experience where the social dimension, the social problems were integrated with the economic possible solutions. We have a very serious imbalance, very serious deficit in our pharmaceutical industry, and one of the measures was to use the public procurement power of the health ministry in order to direct the procurement power to products that were being developed with national technologies and by national firms. And at the same time, we had some policy instruments focused on developing these capabilities in Brazil. So this is a case that have been studied in the last years, and we are now working on a research project to think about how to use this experience in the future to develop a universal health system, and to use this objective to guide STI policies, social policies, and other public policies. Thank you.
Okay, Carlos Aguirre.
Thank you, Martin. Just a short comment. And this idea of policy mix is, of course, complicated, but should be looked in depth in Latin America. But particularly inside our own institutions, we have the problem in our secretariat in Panama, in CYTED, where in 2015, we proposed a long-term plan which called for the National System for Science, Technology and Innovation to look into the challenges of sustainable and inclusive development, with the idea that the system can be enlarged and not just economically oriented. So when we started designing the projects, we had projects on social innovation and innovation for inclusion and so on. And all these projects fell into the hands of the directorship of innovation. But that directorship inside our secretariat was dedicated to enterprise innovation, to economic innovation. And they tried to manage these social innovation approaches through the lens of entrepreneurial innovation. So, of course, the projects did not fall well. We did not attain the results that were expected. So this policy mix is very necessary, even inside some of our, I call, linear model institutions, which are very, very behind this kind of discussion. Thank you, Martin.
Thank you. So thank you, everybody, for the participation, the presenters, the projects. It's very good project. We are part also in the team in CIMPE of this project, so we will be working hard and having fun for sure. So see you in next session. Bye-bye.
See you, big hug.
Bye-bye. Hasta luego.
Thank you,
Gracias.
Tatol. Thank you, Tatol. Thank you, Tatol.
Ciao, bye, adiós.
Ciao.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.